My water bill in July used to make me wince. Sprinklers running every evening, that meter out front spinning like a slot machine, and the lawn still going brown in the corners no matter what I did. Then a fella down the street, older than me even, showed me something his daddy taught him. And last summer my grass stayed thick and green clear through August, while the rest of the block crisped up like a cornflake. The water bill barely moved. Here's the part nobody tells you. On a whole lot of properties in this country, there's water sitting just a few feet under your shoes. Free water. It's been there the whole time. And long before garden hoses were in every shed, regular folks tapped right into it with nothing fancier than a length of pipe and a sledgehammer. They called it driving a point. And I'm going to walk you through the whole thing today, nice and slow, so you can decide if your yard's a candidate. And do it yourself over a weekend. Now, I'm not an engineer and I'm not selling you anything complicated. I'm just a fella who's looked after his own quarter acre for better than 30 years, learned most of it from my father and the old boys on my street, and figured the rest out the hard way. The part that does the actual work runs you under $50. The pump's extra if you want one, and I'll be straight with you about that too. No big machines, no drilling company, no monthly bill. Just you, a few simple parts, and an afternoon. So let's start with what this thing even is, because the name throws people. It's called a sandpoint well, or a driven well, or sometimes just a point. And the heart of it is one clever little part, the sand point itself. Picture a pointed steel tip on the end of a short pipe, and that pipe is wrapped in a fine screen. The point lets you drive it down into the ground like a giant nail. The screen lets the water seep in, but holds back the sand and grit. That's the whole trick. There's no drilling. You're just hammering a screened pipe down until the bottom of it sits below the water, and then you pull that water up. And here's how it works in plain English. Underground, below the dry dirt, there's a level where the soil is soaked through. We call that the water table. On some lots, it's way down deep. But on a lot of properties, especially low ground near creeks, lakes, old farm country, and a good chunk of the Midwest, that wet layer sits surprisingly close to the surface. A hand pump can pull water up from about 25 feet and no farther, on account of plain old physics. So the game is simple. If your water table sits within about 25 feet of the grass, and the closer the better, you can reach it by hand. If it's down 100 feet, this isn't your method. And I'd rather tell you that now than waste your Saturday. So how do you know if you've got shallow water under your yard? You play detective for an hour, and it costs you nothing. First, look around the neighborhood. Do older homes nearby have their own wells? Is there a ditch that holds water, a pond, a creek down the road? Do you see cattails, willows, or those reeds that only grow where it's wet? Those are nature telling you the water table's high. Next, and this is the good one, most states keep public well records. You can look up wells drilled near your address and see how deep folks had to go to hit water. Your county extension office or the state water department can point you right to it. If your neighbors hit water at 15 feet, odds are awful good you will too. The other half of the question is your dirt. Sandy, loose, gravelly soil is a dream. The point slides down through it. Heavy clay is slow and stubborn, and solid rock or hardpan will stop you cold. If you can dig a post hole in your yard without cussing, you can probably drive a point. If your shovel bounces off the ground like it's concrete, this is going to be a fight, and you'll want to think twice. Now, before anybody picks up a sledgehammer, there are two things you handle first, and I mean first. These aren't optional. Number one, call 811. That's the national call before you dig line, and it's free. You call them a few days ahead, you tell them you're putting something in the ground, and they send folks out to mark your buried gas, electric, water, and phone lines with little flags and spray paint. You drive a steel pipe into a gas line, and we are no longer talking about lawn care. So you call, you wait for the marks, and you drive your point well away from every one of them. Number two, check your local rules. Some counties and states are perfectly fine with a small well for watering the lawn and garden, and some want a permit or a registration even for that. A 5-minute phone call to your county saves you a world of headache. Do it right and do it legal. That's how the old timers did it, and that's how we're going to do it. Now, I want to pause right here because what we just went through, reading your land, knowing where the water hides, doing it the safe and proper way, that's exactly the kind of know-how that's quietly disappearing. The fellas who taught me this are mostly gone now, and I got, scan the QR code on screen right now. Take your phone out of your pocket, open your camera, and point it at the screen. So tired of watching good, simple money-saving methods vanish with them that I sat down and wrote them all out in one place. It's called The Old Ways, 50 Forgotten Lawn Secrets from America's Greatest Groundskeepers. It's not a textbook. It's the stuff the old groundskeepers actually used, the cheap tricks, the timing, the little fixes that cost you a couple of bucks and a Saturday instead of a fortune. And a service contract. Driving your own water is just one of them. There's 50 in there. If you've ever felt like you're paying a premium for things your grandfather did for next to nothing, this little book is for you. The link to grab it is right down in the description. And that code on your screen right there, just point your phone camera at it, and it'll take you straight to it. Go ahead and do that now, I'll wait. It's the best few dollars you'll spend on your lawn all year, and it'll pay for itself the first time you use one trick out of it. All right. Marks are down, you've got the green light, and your shopping list is short. Let me run through the parts. You need the sand point itself. And a 1 1/4 inch point is the friendly size for driving by hand. You need a few sections of galvanized pipe to extend it as you go deeper. Threaded on both ends. You need a coupling or two to join the sections. And you need a drive cap, which is a heavy fitting that screws onto the top. So the sledgehammer beats on it instead of chewing up your threads. That core kit comes in under $50 at most hardware stores or farm supply places. Then there's the pump. A classic pitcher-style hand pump, the old red kind you crank, is the cheap and charming way to bring water up at the wellhead. It runs a bit more, so if you're holding tight to that $50 number, get your point in the ground first and add the pump when you're ready. The well's the hard part. The pump just sits on top. So here's step 1, and it's the part people rush. Pick your spot. You want low ground if you've got it, because low ground usually means the water table's a touch closer. You want it well clear of the house foundation, well clear of any septic tank or leach field, and away from all those utility marks we just talked about. And you want it reasonably close to the part of the lawn that needs the most water, so you're not hauling buckets across the whole yard. Pick a spot where you can stand comfortably and swing. You're going to be there a while. Step 2. Open yourself a starter hole and get it dead straight. This matters more than folks think. If your point goes in crooked, every section after it goes in crooked, and a leaning well is a miserable thing to pump. So take a post hole digger or an auger and open up a foot, or 2 of clean hole to seat the point. Drop the point in, eyeball it from 2 sides, and get it standing as plumb as a flagpole. Some folks build a little wooden guide to hold it true. A buddy holding it steady works just fine too. Straight start, straight well. Now step 3, the part you came for. Screw your drive cap onto the top of the pipe snug. Get up on a sturdy stepladder if you need the height, because you want to bring that sledgehammer down square on the cap. And the best advice the old boys ever gave me was this: let the weight of the hammer do the work. You're not trying to murder it. Steady, controlled blow straight down. The point sinks a little with each hit. Every so often you'll feel it stop biting, and that's when you stop. Unscrew the drive cap. Thread on another section of pipe with a coupling. Screw the cap back on top. And keep driving. Section by section, the well goes down into the ground. Check that you're staying plumb every few feet. If she starts to lean, ease off and correct before it gets worse. It's sweaty work. I won't lie to you, but it's honest work. And it goes faster than you'd guess in good sandy soil. I've seen a point go 10 feet in under an hour when the ground cooperated. So how do you know when you've actually hit water? This is the satisfying part. As you drive, every couple of feet, pour some water down the inside of the pipe from a jug. While you're still up in the dry dirt, that water just sits there, or drains slow. But the moment your point pushes down into that wet layer, the water you pour in vanishes. It drops away fast because now the bottom of your pipe is sitting in the water table. And it's got somewhere to go. That's your signal. Some folks drive another foot or 2 past. That point to make sure the whole screen is sitting in good wet ground. And just like that, the hard part's behind you. Step 5 is the pump, and there's one word that makes or breaks it: priming. A pitcher pump won't pull a thing until you prime it, so you screw or clamp your pump onto the top of the pipe, and before you crank, you pour a pitcher of water down into the top of the pump itself. That water swells the little leather seal inside and gives it the grip it needs to grab the water below. Now you work the handle. The first few strokes feel like nothing, just air and effort. Keep at it. Then you'll feel it get heavy, the handle starts fighting back, and out comes water. That first gush is the best feeling in lawn care, I promise you. Your own water out of your own ground that you put there with a sledgehammer. Now step 6, and don't skip it. That first water is going to come out cloudy, full of fine sand. That's normal. That's the well cleaning itself out, so you just keep pumping. Run it for a good while, let it spit out all that grit, and watch the stream slowly turn from muddy to murky to clear. The old-timers call this developing the well. You're pulling the fine sand out from around that screen so it settles into clean water flow. Give it 10 or 15 minutes of steady pumping and most points will run clear and steady. Once it's clear, you've got yourself a working well. So now the fun part. How do you actually get that water onto the lawn? A few ways, depending on how much work you feel like doing. The simplest is the most old-fashioned. You crank the handle and fill a watering can, or a couple of 5-gallon buckets, and you carry them to the dry spots, the new seed. The flower beds. It's good exercise, and it costs you nothing but elbow grease. If you want it easier, pump straight into a rain barrel or a stock tank, and let it fill while you do other chores, then dip from there all week. And if you want to really set it up nice, you can run a small electric transfer pump or a shallow well jet pump off that same point. Plumb it to a spigot, and water with a regular hose and sprinkler like you always have. Except the water's free. Start simple. You can always upgrade once you've proven your well runs strong. Now I'd be a poor neighbor if I didn't tell you about the 3 things that go sideways so you can fix them in 5 minutes instead of giving up. The first is the pump that pumps air and nothing else. 9 times out of 10, that's lost prime, and the fix is to pour more water in the top and check that every joint is tight because a tiny air leak at a loose fitting will steal your suction. The second is water that just won't stop running sandy. Usually, that means you need to develop it longer, keep pumping, or the screen's settled into an especially fine sand. Pumping gentle and steady, not in a frenzy, lets the sand settle and the water clear. The third, and this is the heartbreaker, is driving down and hitting clay, or rock before you ever hit water. That's the ground telling you no. It's not a failure on your part. Some lots just aren't built for it, which is exactly why we did all that detective work up front before spending a dime. And let me be honest with you about the limits because I won't ever sell you a fairy tale. This water is wonderful for your lawn, your garden, your trees, washing the car, all of it. But it is not drinking water, not unless you have it tested by a lab and treated proper. Don't drink from it, don't cook with it, and keep the kids and the dog from treating it like a fountain. Lawn and garden, that's its job, and it does that job beautifully. The other thing, and this matters for those of us up north in cool season country, is the freeze. Come fall, before the hard frost, you want to drain that pitcher pump or bring it in the garage, because water left sitting in a pump over a Midwest winter will crack it wide open. Drain it, store it, and set it back out in spring. Treat it right. And a simple point, well, like this will water your lawn for years and years. So picture where this leaves you. It's the middle of August. It's been a dry one. Up and down the street, lawns are going tan and crunchy. And your neighbors are squinting at their water bills, wondering where the money went. And your yard, thick, green, lush as June, because you spent one Saturday. And under $50 putting a pipe in the ground. And now you're watering with water nobody charges you for. That's not magic. That's just the old way, the way it was done before we got talked into paying for everything. Scan the QR code on screen right now. Take your phone out of your pocket, open your camera, and point it at the screen. And now you know it too. If your lawn's been thirsty and your bills have been climbing, don't let another watering season slip by paying for water that's sitting under your own feet for free. This one weekend project pays you back every single summer for as long as you own the place. And it's just one of 50 money-saving tricks I put down in the old ways. 50 forgotten lawn secrets from America's greatest groundskeepers. The link's in the description, and that code's on your screen now. Grab it. Give your lawn the kind of summer it deserves, and I'll see you out by the fence next time.